have to touch the phone to switch the on button. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm good.
Good. Thank you for joining me on this little live just to show everything. Hello, Scarlett. I can see the sun popping up. Thank you for joining. No, it's a lovely, lovely time to get together, and we've got a few cool things to talk about, haven't we?
Yeah.
Awesome.
I just looked up that you first contacted me on the 9th of May, and it feels like I've known you forever.
It's so strange. 8 months, and it feels like we've known each other lifetimes. It's amazing.
Bizarre.
Yeah, well, that leads us perfectly to how we originally met. I feel like a bit of context would be helpful for people. So would you like me to kind of just explain a little bit?
I'm just trying to organise the lighting a bit better. How's that? Okay, go on.
Perfect. Yeah, so how we met was I actually found you on a Spotify interview on a podcast where you was speaking about Chem and ancient Egypt, and you were offering a really interesting meditation, which I think is still on your website, isn't it? The Anpu meditation.
Yes, I didn't even know I was on Spotify, Benji.
You are. Congratulations. So yeah, and it was, ironically, it was a Canadian woman you were actually speaking to, wasn't it? And so then when I was like, oh yeah, I'm just in the north of England, you were like, oh, how strange. So that was amazing. And then from there, we went on and did the Violet Flame of Amenti course, didn't we? Which was amazing. Did you want to just explain kind of what that course was?
Yeah, that'd be great. I mean, it was bizarre because, as you say, when you first got in touch, I think my first question was which country are you in. So it was really lovely to learn that you were actually here in the UK. Well, the Violet Flame is an alchemical tool for transmutation. It's been known about for probably more than thousands of years, but I'll say thousands of years to be safe. And it's a lot of healers use it, to be honest. But it was introduced to me about 22 years ago, and I've used it continuously, really. Well, not like every second, but over the years I've used it multiple times for lots of really helpful situations. So
Definitely.
that course has been running for many years, but it was only made virtual around the time that I met you. You were one of the first ones on the first course, weren't you? Or the first virtual course.
Yeah, definitely, which was an amazing experience to say. I'd never done an online course like that before with the using Zoom and things like that. It was such a nice, interesting new thing, and especially with everything going off in the world right now, it's so lucky that we could connect that way, even though we are quite far away from each other. Yeah, I loved that so much. So then after that, we went on, because after just tasting the Violet Flame, I was like, a bit of energy healing, what's next, and then we went on and did the rest of Rayad Sekhem 1, which is your amazing healing modality that you were able to kind of put together and introduce to the world. Again, do you want to maybe just explain for people that don't know exactly what Rayad Sekhem itself is? I know obviously you fed into it with the Violet Flame, but there's so much more to it. I mean, I feel like everyone would love to know.
Thank you. Well, I mean, the Violet Flame was the first module that we made virtual, but Rayad Sekhem had been around for quite a few years as well. I think I first developed it about 18 years ago. But essentially, it's Egyptian alchemy healing, which sounds a bit so, I mean, most people haven't really heard of alchemy healing, but obviously, as I've said, that the Violet Flame is a tool of alchemy, effectively. So it is a key part of it, but it's not the only thing. And when I originally learnt another healing system that is a taster for me that led me to develop my own system, if you like, but the one I learnt was called Teramai Sekhem. So the word Sekhem and the word Sekhem are really the same word, just pronounced slightly differently, but they had described it as Egyptian Reiki. And that was what drew me to it, because I'd already done Reiki 1, which a lot of people would have heard about. It's one of the most well-known energy healing systems. And of course, it was rediscovered in Japan. And, you know, I really thought that was amazing anyway, Reiki. But I've always been fascinated by Egypt. So the idea of Egyptian Reiki caught my attention even more. So then I did that course, and I was teaching it for a while. And it was a really great course. But there were a couple of things that that I felt could have been done a little bit more. I wouldn't say better, because nothing's ever needing improvement, really. It's all personal, isn't it? But my personal interests would have done it slightly differently.
Yeah,
And one of the things
expanded upon.
yeah, exactly. I just wanted to go to Egypt and discover a few things about their ancient philosophies. And I used to be a travel agent in my last life, in this life, in my last chapter of this life. I was a travel agent, so I was quite familiar with traveling. And the intention was just to find out a bit about the Egyptian philosophies and put that into this other system as a sort of optional extra. But I ended up meeting a elderly mentor over there who was like an indigenous tribal elder, really. And he told me lots of fascinating things, which introduced me to the concept of chemitology, which I don't suppose many of the listeners will have heard of that. And you probably hadn't before, had you?
No, for anyone that has been watching my account, I did put a post up about it a couple of days ago, actually, just kind of explaining a little bit, but I'm sure I couldn't do it the justice that you've done for it. But
you did a very good job. I like that Ray had said, what?
yeah, well, from when I've spoken to people about it, they're like, what is it you do? And I'm like, Rayad Sakem, and they're like, Rayad Sa what? So I thought, well, that's just so perfect. But I find it really interesting how in modern days, I mean, this is a slight tangent, but how a lot of people do feel that pull to Egypt and kind of the histories of it. And I think it's still one of those places that's really regarded as quite mystical, even with everything still going on. It's got all that history there. I mean, I've got a perfect little statue of Isis, or how you taught me the Cometians pronounced it, or Set,
yes.
which was her name, showing off the ancient symbol of the Ankh. And I just think that's really interesting that you kind of felt this pull towards it, and you thought almost you wanted a more richer version of it with that history aspect to it, which I think pulls a lot of people into the course.
Well, it certainly attracted me, and I guess, as you say, it's not in everyone's taste, but there is a niche market, if you like, for people who want to know the authentic ancient history. And I mean, it's a very interesting point you raised about ISIS, which is a shame. It's a word we can't easily use anymore because of the unfortunate connotations with terrorism. But ISIS as a goddess has been around for many thousands of years as well. But what many people don't realise is that wasn't her original name. And as you said, Kem or Cometian, the Cometian take on things is derived from the word Kem, which was the ancient indigenous name for the land of Egypt itself, and actually means the Black Land is its translation. But they had their own phonetic names for all the goddesses and gods, and lots of other things as well. And this is what Hakim, my mentor, taught me. Things like, you know, the pyramid and the Sphinx being a lot older than we're told when we go there as a tourist. And we can't verify a lot of these things, although there are lots of authors out there saying that the Sphinx has water damage on it, and that must mean that it's a lot older than the however many thousand years they claim it is. So there's a bit of support for it, but you know, internationally, and if you did a history degree or whatever, you certainly wouldn't be learning the Cometian aspect of the history. But I found it fascinating.
Yeah, and I think also, like, I'm quite lucky. We're lucky that we have all this technology where we can connect to things. And I mean, through a lot of research that I've done, it seems like a lot of archaeologists are coming out now and saying, like, maybe they are a lot older than we once thought, which I find interesting that wisdom keepers and spiritual masters have said this for a really long time. These are so much older than people think. And I think scientists have kind of pushed it away, like, no, cultures couldn't do that. They couldn't do that. Whereas now, like you say, they're looking at the watermarks and they're saying, like, it has to be older because the amount of water, the damage that's present on these things, it completely blasts it out of the water. So I think possibly slowly science is starting to almost catch up with the spirituality of that, which I think is a really important thing to appreciate, that many things that we see as fact from science is actually, it's still evolving, it's still a theory. And we're seeing that these ideas are changing over time.
Yes, exactly. And I mean, it is interesting. And in fact, I had an academic, I think either from Oxford or Cambridge, contacted me a few months ago and said that he'd been really trying to prove the whole Cometian side for a very long time. And he was interested in the research I was doing. I must get back in touch with him, actually. I mean, over time, it might change. But at the moment, it's still you know, the minority who see it the way we do, but it's fascinating. And even if we don't believe every word of it, there's a lot of really interesting ancient wisdom to be gleaned from it. And I mean, one of the main things is that they really revered nature. And it seems as if, well, the word, and that's one of the most fascinating things I thought, the word, the Egyptian word for God is Neter. I mean, we don't really have an easy way of spelling it because obviously it's not an alphabet, but we tend to spell it N-E-T-R or just N-T-R. They didn't have any vowels actually in the hieroglyphs. But Neter is almost the same word as nature, isn't it?
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, that was one of the big aha moments for me. And most of the Egyptian deities are in fact really representations or sort of personifications of aspects of nature. And I think when you see it like that, you get a very different view of how they live their lives. And I will just say actually at this point that Riyad Sekem brings in angels as well, which I know isn't everybody's cup of tea, and I was very resistant to them originally. You'll find on my website at Harmony Healing Co UK a recent blog, Angels Not Just for Christmas, and I do talk about how they were just for Christmas as far as I was concerned until about 20 years ago. But my sister Angela McGurr went on to become a bestseller of angel books and cards. And eventually she convinced me that they had lessons for us too. So Riyad Sekem does bring that in, particularly at the introductory level, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And I think also leading on from that, ironically, I think I've got her book behind you. In her book, Alchemy Healing and Angel Healing and Alchemy, she speaks about how a lot of her information actually comes from, I believe it's the Jubilee Scroll from the Dead Sea Scrolls.
Yes,
which,
yes.
Again, it's got that connection to history. So it's not like you going out and just saying, oh yeah, we're going to bring angels into it. The idea is, and I remember you saying this a few times to me, but your kind of tagline for Harmony Healing is, isn't it ancient wisdom for modern times or something like that?
Modern living, yes. Ancient healing for modern living, yes. That's very true. I mean, angels, it feels like a kind of modern thing, doesn't it? But in fact, Angela has pointed out that there are glyphs, which is like, glyphs is sort of the name for tiny little, almost like stone drawings that go back thousands of years. Winged glyphs, which indicates that they revered some kind of winged beings over 4,000 years ago. So we're certainly preceding Christianity by 2,000 years, and potentially lots of other religious beliefs as well. So yes, it isn't a religious thing, even though we think it is. But yeah, I mean, going back to the connection with nature and the angel theme, well, we're about to start a new project, aren't we?
We are, yes, exactly. It's just perfect. It all flows into each other. Yeah. So I feel like you will just be able to explain this so much better than I can. I'm really lucky to say I'm going to be part of this project. For all of my followers, I'm going to be doing kind of like daily updates on what we're doing with it, how we're finding it. But I'll let Jo kind of explain just what the project is and how it will kind of work.
Thank you. Well, I mean, it is a project that I did something similar in 2012, which some of you may remember was, well, I don't know what to say about it. It was said to be a really key year. If I don't know how much you remember, you would have been quite young, of course. But yes, it was talked about at the time that it was going to be a very auspicious year. And,
yes.
Lots of very, very eminent, I should say, spiritual leaders were talking about the whole planet ascending on the 21st of December. That year, Saturn said the 12th of December. And interestingly, London held the Olympic Games that year. Which was really quite interesting because we obviously didn't appear to ascend, as in we didn't all disappear, which was what, you know, a lot of people wondered if we would. But we didn't. But you know, it was a very, very key year in terms of spiritual development. And I think there was an increase or a speeding up, if you like, of spiritual understanding and awareness amongst the population. So 22 years ago, when I first got into Reiki, even Reiki, which was very well known in Japan and it was long established, but here it was quite new. I think people were a bit sort of suspicious of it almost, you know. So in that 20 years, things have moved on a lot. And 2012 was a key year for people becoming a lot more accepting about the healing, really philosophy, if you like.
Yeah.
So anyway, 2021 is interestingly a numerological anagram of 2012.
Mm.
And that might be, well, you know, so what? But the interesting thing is that each year has numerology. So in other words, when you add up the digits of the year, you get a single figure. And obviously we've only got 2, 2 and 1 to add up, so we don't have to reduce it down to a single figure. It already is, and it's the figure 5. And 5 is the numerology for expansion and spiritual development. And you probably remember, we've studied it in our course, the microcosm, which is the 5-pointed star. And that is essentially a very, very ancient representation of the sort of divinity within man, if you like.
Yeah,
So,
very much like the Vitruvian Man. If you kind of look at the proportions, it very much follows the same shape.
exactly, the Vitruvian Man, which is Leonardo da Vinci's version, yes, is exactly that, the microcosm. So interestingly, if 2021 is the same numerology vibration as 2012, then we can guess it will be another very expansive year for humanity. And we need it, don't we? Because we're all in a pretty bad place right now, so we need all the help we can get. So
Definitely.
anyway, this course was last run then, and I thought I was going to be repeating it, but in fact, a whole lot of new information has come forth. So one of the things I have brought in this time is this is Angela's book. This is actually the I hope I put it the right way around. This is actually the hardback version of the Angel Almanac. It's available as a paperback as well. It's out of print, but I do have a few copies, and there are a few around as well on the internet from other sources as well. So the Angel Almanac is all about how the angels fit in with the different seasons and the different cycles, if you like, that go through the year. And of course, the regular cycle we have is the lunar cycle. And 2 days' time is going to be the new moon. And the new moon to new moon cycle is 28 days, which is obviously 4 times 7, so 4 weeks roughly. And so each week is a quarter of the cycle, known as a phase. So we've got 4 phases that make up the complete lunar cycle. And the new moon will then go through, after 2 weeks roughly, it will become the full moon, and then a further 2 weeks it become the new moon again. But each of those quarterly phases has energy that helps certain activities in your life. So some of it is more detoxing and some of it is more building and gaining information. So this course that we're running, starting from the new moon on the 13th on Wednesday and finishing on the new moon on the 11th of February, is going to be working with that energy so that we're helping the phases of the moon to enhance our life processes, if you like. And what's different about this course over the one we did in 2012 is we're going to be working with the 28 mansions of the moon. So if there are any astrologers watching, they will have heard of the mansions of the moon, because if you ever have an astrological chart drawn up for you, it will always be talking about what mansion of the moon you were born in and all the key events of your life and how that fits in, because they believe it influences your outlook and your personality and all sorts of aspects of your life. So these 28 mansions of the moon each have an angel. So we have 2 angels that govern the moon per se. So we've got Gabriel, that you know about, who's the guardian of Mondays, i.e. today. So Gabriel is going to be working with us through the whole program. We also have Ephanuel, who is or Ephaniel. I can't remember the pronunciation. I have to look it up. But he is another angel guardian of the mansions of the moon over the whole 28, if you like, other angels. And then each day we have a particular guardian of that specific mansion. So we will have a WhatsApp group as part of our activities, reminding you who is the mansion angel of the day and what affirmations you would want to work with using that angel on that day. So you can choose whether you do your affirmation morning, evening or night, it doesn't matter. And we do have some international people on the course. We've got a lady in Norway, and we've also got a gentleman in Egypt joining us, which is really lovely for me, obviously, with my connections in Egypt. And we may have some Americans. We've got a few who are regulars, but none of them have confirmed joining this particular program. Very open to Americans or Canadians joining, obviously, but Australians won't find these timings of our Zoom calls very workable, because we're running them mostly 7:30 to 9:30, I should say. But we have got a couple that are only an hour, so they're 7:30 to 8:30. We've got about 5 Zoom calls, which are all listed on the website. And those are to make sure we're focusing on what that particular phase is about and what you might want to work on. And we'll also be talking about vision boards, the concept of them, and how to help the moon energy work with your vision board to really help with the creative process and the releasing process as well. So is that a bit vague?
No, that you know what, that's perfect, and that's brought up a lot of interesting things. Kind of when you were discussing that kind of working with the energy of the moon, I instantly was thinking, oh wow, that again, leading from what we were saying, that really connects you to kind of ancient traditions, because obviously that is what would govern their life. It would be what stage is the moon in, and that's how, without having a true calendar, because obviously a lot of the calendars would work around the moon and things like that, it was a way for people to connect. So I feel like on a very deep psychological level, it's very much getting back in touch with those ancestral roots of just how they might have held their lives. And I think as well with the different mansions of the moon, it really connects again to nature and things like that, which I think are things that are really, really prominent. And I also want to mention that you are also a forest bathing guide, which is again feeds to nature, and a lot of kind of the research connected with that very much shows a positive correlation between being out in nature and having that more positive mind frame, being healthier, more harmonious, which I just think is really important for a lot of people. And I also just wanted to add, sorry, I've just a lot of thoughts. The Zoom calls themselves, just for anyone that is wondering, they are in the evening, so that's 7:30 p.m. to till 9:30 p.m., isn't it?
In the UK, yes.
Yes, in the UK, yeah.
Those who are based in the UK, it's an evening program, and the idea of that is because we do get quite a lot of Americans on our other courses, and for them it becomes daytime for them. But unfortunately for Australians and New Zealanders, it's the middle of the night. But it's just very hard at the moment. We've got about a 12-hour time gap, so it is very hard to find a time that works.
Definitely.
Yeah, so last time I ran my module, I had to do a special one that was, appropriate for, and we only had one Australian on it, but we had quite a few British people who were available during the day, which was lucky. But the time change is different at this time of year, and she really wanted to do this program actually, but it wasn't going to be workable. Yeah, thank you for clarifying that anyway. Yeah. Evening here.
No problem. And I've just seen Holly's message pop up. Thank you so much for joining us, and I'm glad that you found that really helpful. And just feeding on from that as well, there's a couple messages that I saw that I kind of wanted to reply to. So I can see Mohammed, he put, it's really interesting.
He's our chap in Egypt. Hello, Mohammed.
Oh,
yes.
Amazing. So thank you, Mohammed, for your comment. It means a lot to say that we know so much about Egypt from a true Egyptian yourself. So thank you. And Scarlett's just wanted us to ask as well kind of how we found the experience of you hosting a virtual course and me partaking in it. So I'll just do my side first, just so it kind of flows a little bit easier. But I really enjoyed doing the virtual courses. One of the main things for me, especially kind of during COVID and things like that, is I am a really social person and I benefit from being around people. And I was really lucky that during the course, I felt like I were with people. I felt that connection. I didn't feel so alone or anything like that, which was really, really beneficial to me. And what I also enjoyed was the fact of if I couldn't make it, if I had an appointment or work when I was able to go back to work, we were able to rewatch videos that we had missed and things like that, which was really handy for me because even though I wasn't there in that moment, I still felt like I was part of it. And it's just really, really beneficial. So how did you find hosting the groups?
Well, thank you for that. It's always great to hear the feedback. Well, I was a little bit nervous at first because I'd not done any virtual courses before May, probably this year, April, May time. And I was due to run an in-person course at the College of Psychic Studies on Essene Angels, actually, around May time. And it became apparent that with the lockdown that we had here in the UK, it wasn't going to be possible to do it in the venue. So I approached them, said, would they be wanting a virtual course? And they said, they would if I had Zoom Pro, which I didn't at the time, but I knew about it and I'd participated in courses as a, like yourself, as a listener or you see as well. It's like this, isn't it? A visual.
Yeah, exactly like this.
Experience. So I'd been a participator. And I thought, well, why not? I've been teaching for many years. And even before I was doing this, I've been a trainer in industry and all sorts of things. So I thought I've got to move with the times. So the College of Psychic Studies would only make me, they would only allow me to run the course if I'd committed to buying the pro version of Zoom. And I thought, you know what, I've bought this pro version, I might as well move my virtual healing circle. Well, it wasn't virtual then, but it is now. But my monthly healing, you know, share became a healing circle. And very quickly after that, I mean, you got in touch with me just at the time when I was thinking, well, the Violet Flame is a standalone course and it would be a good one to trial. I already had some slides because I'd run it as a workshop for the College of Psychic Studies and other places. So I had a PowerPoint. So, and actually Zoom works really, really well with PowerPoint. And I'm lucky that in this room I'm sitting in now, my office, I do have a second screen as well. So I can use the PowerPoint on that. And it just makes it a little bit easier for me to keep an eye on the group with this screen and over here have the PowerPoint. But yeah, I thought it would probably be flat and not the same as a venue. And but I've been absolutely astounded with how amazing it is. It really does feel like we're in the same room, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And even like the group exercises we have and things like that, we've very much felt that connection with each other. And I always find it interesting as well, because before you start anything like this, I think you have that worry like, am I going to like the people on my course? How's it going to run? All these sort of things. Whereas it always seemed like the perfect thing at the perfect time when we were doing the course. We always had a really good group of people that really bonded really well. And I think it's interesting, the sort of people that seem to be pulled to do your work do seem to be kind of working in the same direction, so that it means that in our own personal lives you then start interfacing with each other and making these connections outside of it, which you wouldn't have been able to do if you hadn't facilitated such a wonderful course for us all to be a part of.
Well, thank you. I mean, yes, it's bizarre because, of course, the other thing it has done is it's made it possible to have, or more possible to have, international participants. So although we've had them before, it's involved a lot of cost for them to come over to the UK. So yes, we've found that each course, well, nearly all the courses have had an element of international participants, which is lovely. And obviously you've been a member of more than one group, because what we tend to do with the modules is we have a WhatsApp group for that module, don't we? And when we did Riyadh Sikkim 1, we had a module for, we had a WhatsApp group for everybody who was doing all the modules, because some of the things that we share on there wouldn't be appropriate to the ones who've only dipped into all of the modules are standalone as well. So we do get people who only participate, you know, to the odd units, which is fine. And then you went on and did Riyadh Sikkim 2, and obviously that brought you to a whole new cohort of people. Although some of them are from your original group, but it's just, as you say, it's been just lovely how everybody gets on, and the overall support group that we have on WhatsApp is really international. We've got long-standing people who trained with me years and years ago have joined it now as well to put their 2 penneth in, which is really nice. But I think, you know, it's an unexpected bonus that, as you said, it's bizarre, because if you'd all been in the same room, you would have thought, well, some of you might have stayed in touch. But somehow I think because the WhatsApp is a written communication, it does make it a lot easier to just WhatsApp somebody directly, or we've now got obviously Facebook messaging as well and texting. So it has brought a whole new level of support, and, you know, people that you can do your practicing on and that kind of thing. You know, it's really worked well for that, hasn't it? Because the remote healing aspect in level 2 is the one I was next worried about. You know, how do we show you how to do a couch healing when we've only got a camera? But we found ways, haven't we? We just set it up back, and people who've got a couch set up their couch, and those who haven't have to use a chair. And we all worked on the same person for an hour, and we all felt very similar things, didn't we? It was quite inspiring.
Yeah, it was actually the fact, like, one person would go, oh, my hands are cold, and all of us would be like, my hands are freezing right now.
It's like almost unbelievable. It's so
it was absolutely crazy. It was amazing. But it's these tangible things, and I think it is interesting that, like, the rational mind kind of wants to interfere and say, oh, it's X, Y, and Z and things like that. But I think a lot of people, almost everyone that's done your course, I think, would say there's been that one moment at different points for everyone, but there's always that one moment where it's like, this is out of this world, this is astronomical. And I mean, me myself, before I started working with you, I would have never even considered myself a healer. I would have never given myself that terminology or anything like that, but it does kind of give you all the tools to be able to even if you're not working on someone else, just work on yourself. I know a few of your students who not necessarily have gone into being a practitioner have found a lot of benefits from just using these practices on themselves daily. And I also wanted to mention as well what you were saying about how the units, you can kind of do them in different parts, or like they don't have to be connected. I think that's really beneficial for people, because you might go into it just like, well, I only want to learn about ancient Egypt. And then you soon realize just how interconnected things can be, and you expand and you grow. Ironically, like you say, we're in a 5 expansion and 6 integration. It allows for that expansion. So just if anyone is really interested in this course, where should they go for more information, to book onto it? What should they do for that?
Thank you. Well, I mean, my website, harmonyhealing.co.uk, does actually have a big splash at the top of the official name. I don't think we've said, actually. The official name of the course is New Year, New Vision. And but I mean, we'll probably run it again later in the end, then we won't be able to call it that. So we'll have to put a name. This particular one, which starts on Wednesday, I mean, it's not the only chance you've got, but I would say, if it appeals, look into it, because it's a great start to this year. You know, because the year has the energy of being an expansive year, you might as well start it with a team of supportive people who are like-minded and all grow together. And, you know, my big hope is that we'll be able to make a difference to humanity, because the planet is in a bit of a mess, to be honest, isn't it? It's dire. There are a lot of people out there who are very scared, and anything that we can do to alleviate that is going to be beneficial. So yeah, if they go on the website and click on the bar at the top, you know, the big advert for New Year, New Vision, they'll see more details there, all the dates of the various events. Just to say that, I mean, it is quite a big ask to have something like 6 evenings available within 28 days. But as Benji has pointed out, we do record everything, assuming Zoom doesn't fail on me, but we set it up to record. And then that's available for people to stream later if they don't have the storage, or to keep the footage if they want to. So you can watch it later. And if you're super shy, and we do occasionally have people who join the course and they're just so shy, they can have their camera off, or they can even not participate in the videos live and just watch them afterwards. But I would say you do miss out doing that, partly because if you've got any burning questions that come to mind when the subject comes up, the time to ask it is there really in that moment. And that's what is so great about them, isn't it? I think the participation is almost more I don't know, easy than it is in an actual course, when people are sitting around a table and they're perhaps a little bit nervous to come forward and say something. But although I do often go round the virtual room and say, have you got anything to say, so and so, I do always say at the beginning, you know, you can say no. You can say, well, I don't want to share, or, you know, or I get to know the ones who are a bit more shy, and I don't really ask them unless they turn their mic on, so that I know they're waiting to say something. So we can be sympathetic to the shy people. But as I said, if you really can't make all the dates, then don't let it stop you coming, because you can watch the video afterwards, and the WhatsApp will be every day anyway, just telling you who the angel of that day is, so you can still participate. And it's £110 the course actually, but if you really, really feel like you're just sitting there thinking, like, that's something I really want to do, I am offering a couple of bursaries for people. So don't let money stop you. If you really want, because I'm interested in the people who want to help the world, really, who want to be part of our light worker cavalry. And we have got one, haven't we? I mean, it's amazing. On our monthly healing circle, it's really uplifting. We work on in the healing circle. Am I right for time to tell people about the healing circle?
Yeah, definitely feel free.
The healing circle is something we hold. We try and do it on the full moon. Sometimes it's the night before. If the full moon is 4 in the morning, I don't offer it then. As part of that, we do this bit where we go through all the chakras with the angels. In fact, in the monthly one, we don't have time to do the angels. We do on the module, but on the monthly one, we go through with the colours and the crystal energy, and we really send a lot of healing to all of the chakras. And then we try and connect with the earth below, and we use the root system, the wood wide web that we learn about in the forest bathing, and we connect with the stars and the planets above as well. So we collect below and above, and we really try, and we have a process where we really try and feel connected in that way, like a unity consciousness. So some people would call it a God experience, but you don't have to believe in God to get something out of this. I think as long as you just feel that nature, if you like, has some kind of therapeutic benefit, and you feel that it would be possible for you to feel in that moment connected to nature, then you can still have this unity consciousness experience. So that's what we're doing on a monthly basis. And as part of that, we send out Global Healing. And this course is really for people who either already doing that and just want some new tools, or they just want to meet some like-minded individuals to be part of this supportive community on WhatsApp, and, you know, decide who you want to stay in touch with out of that group beyond the course. It could be for that. Could be because you just really feel that you want to have something to look forward to in life. So the vision board aspect of it is trying to allow you to at least still have some hopes and dreams, and to start to see them, you know, cutting out the pictures. And because that's really powerful, you know, the law of attraction is true, you know, that you have to start seeing what you want for it to come to you, and you have to start believing in it. And the best start for that is to look for, you know, actually search your mind. What do I want in life? Where do I see myself living? What sort of car do I want to be driving, you know, or do I want to be running marathons, you know, whatever it is. Then seeing it is the first thing, and then putting it on your board is something else. So all of those are part of what we're offering in this month. With I know it will be a wonderful group. All the right people will be on it. So if you feel you're one of the right people and you don't have £111, contact me, and we'll discuss how we might go forward. But obviously, if you have got £111, then you'll be rewarded. You'll be rewarded, because the more you put in, the more you get out, in a way. But you can put in things other than money, you know, with intention, really.
Yeah, I think that's so beautiful. And I just want to say, like, I think that is such an amazing thing that you are offering it to people, just if it feels right and things aren't working out for you. Because I know with everything going on, I mean, I'm definitely in that party where you've not got a lot of excessive funds coming in. So kind-hearted people like you doing things like that is such an amazing thing. And I think, as you say as well, with these hopes and dreams, it's also in a way almost keeping yourself accountable of what you're wanting from this year. Because I know a lot of people are like, oh, what's your New Year's resolution and things like that, but do you make it to yourself and then in 2 weeks forget about it, or say, oh it doesn't matter, or something like that? When you've got your vision board there, you're looking at it, you're seeing what is it that you're wanting from this year. And I also just wanted to comment about the healing circles that you do. As being part of one myself, I can say that it is a very transformational process, and it's a very beautiful thing to go through, especially with everybody else, because I think in our modern life, not many chances come along where you can truly just sit there and feel what's going on inside, and really, really deeply connect yourself to these things, like you say, the wood wide web, the stars. They are tangible things. I mean, yogic tradition has talked about it for thousands of years, the state of samadhi. That is the definition of it. It's unity consciousness, it's connection. And I think a lot of people walk around nowadays without that connection, but almost not sure what they're lacking, because some people may have never had it before, which I think, what's the harm in opening yourself up to it? Also, something I wanted to mention very, very quickly is Mohammed wondered if you could explain a little bit more about the attunements that take place. Now, I know this is something that we've not actually commented on yet, but it is something that you're also adding as part of the course, isn't it? So would you like to kind of explain what an attunement is, and kind of what this attunement in particular is?
Thank you, Mohammed, because pulling us up there, because we could have missed that out.
We would have, thank you.
We would have done, wouldn't we? Well, attunements is something that people who've been trained in Reiki will have heard of. And I have a way of describing it, which is very simplified, but just to help people who have no idea what we might be talking about. We're really talking about people's frequency. So we all have our own wavelength, if you like, that is unique to us. And we could call it a frequency. And it's a bit like being a radio, you know, when you, well, those who remember digital radios, or before digital radios, let's say, radios, you used to have a dial that you could turn the dial to get a new channel. Of course, now we just press a button, don't we? It's all automatic. But the different channels are on the different wavelengths. So the idea of an attunement is it's a slight adjustment to your personal frequency, your personal wavelength. And that means that you have a different awareness. So if you like, it's a tweaking of your perceptive skills. So we in the West here, we only recognize 5 perceptions: taste, touch, hearing, smell, and sight. But I mean, obviously, some of us have had experiences of intuition and maybe telepathy and so on, which don't fit into those 5. And in the spiritual community, we talk about clairvoyance, clairsentience, clairaudience, claircognizance, and all sorts of other things which are like heightened of those other awarenesses. But the thing is, according to Hakim, the guy I was talking about, the Egyptian mentor, who I wonder if you would have heard of him, Mohammed, Hakim Awayan. But anyway, he's not with us anymore. He died in about 2008, sadly. But he talked about the possibility of 360 different perceptions. And we only label and identify and recognize 5, which is a bit pathetic. So the thing the thing is that by adjusting the frequency in that way, we open up some of these other perceptive abilities that we don't even have names for, but it enables us to have more awareness of our surroundings in ways that are quite hard to describe. Some of it's subtle and some of it isn't. So, you know, for me, I started to get past life information about people, or I'd be talking to somebody and not necessarily, it doesn't happen by itself. It's impertinent. You wouldn't be just giving people readings who haven't asked for one. But if you're discussing with somebody and they've come to you for advice, you start to sense parts of their body where the energy isn't free flowing and so on. So this has all come about by working with my frequency. So the simplified way I describe it is it's because we're probably working with higher dimensional beings. You might call them angels, you might call them spirit guides, you might call them God, you know, or whatever. It doesn't matter what you call them. But there are beings out there who have a better perception than us because they can see better. It's like they have a bird's eye view of everything, you know. So we're probably working with these other beings that have more capacity than us, and they work on a particular frequency. So where we start, before we have the attunement, we can't see some of these beings. All of us can access some of them, but you know, some of them are outside our range, if you like. So once we have the attunement, I describe it as it's like you're suddenly wearing a purple hat. And then the purple hat identifies you to some of these higher frequency beings. Oh, look, she's wearing a purple hat. She wants to talk to us. So it identifies you from that point of view. But also from your perspective, it's as if the hat is like a deciphering equipment. So if they were speaking German and you're English and you don't speak German, they can talk to you as much as they like and you don't know what they're saying. But this attunement enables you to translate that German into English. I mean, it's not German and English, obviously, but the principle is that they're talking some kind of language that is gibberish to us. But with this help, we can start to perceive it. Maybe we don't necessarily hear the message, we only hear the answer, or we suddenly know something we didn't know before. And the truth is that until I meet you and I give you the attunement, I don't know how it is going to enhance you, because it will depend what your leading perception is. But it will make a difference. So this particular, in fact, there's more than one attunement on this course, but they're basically into the earth, moon, sun and stars. So the idea is talking about the frequency, that with this particular one, we're trying to align the frequency with the frequency of Earth herself, which, you know, some people call Gaia, which is of course a Greek name. So other religious beliefs or whatever might have a different name for her, or even a hymn. You know, to the Egyptians, it was a male, it was Geb, who was male. Yes, indeed. The Earth itself has a consciousness, if you like, or that's one of the spiritual perceptions. And the sky has a consciousness as well. So this attunement is to help you align and connect more with the consciousness of the earth and the sky. And naturally, that should also help you achieve this unity consciousness we were talking about, because it is by having that alignment, both above and below, that we can feel that true connection with all that is, and with each other, because we are all connected on some level. So that's what it's about. How do I do it? Well, it's about drawing symbols into the chakra points of the body. Not all of them. Most attunements are in the crown, third eye, throat and heart. And so we draw a template, and with the same with Reiki, but the template is different. But in principle, you draw a sequence of symbols, and they each carry a frequency. So because those symbols, if you like, have been suspended in your energy field or your aura, that does actually then change your frequency as well as a result, because that stays there, it stays in your aura.
Mm-hmm.
Is that, I mean, it is quite a concept that's not particularly easy to describe quickly. Do you want to just ask Mohammed if that's answered?
Yeah, Mohammed, let us know if that is kind of adds enough detail in for you. I think it's a really, really interesting idea. And I mean, again, I can only speak from my own experience, but from someone that's I don't even know if I could count the amount of attunements that I've done with you.
At least half a dozen, I should think.
Yeah, and I definitely feel that difference, and I think it's interesting when you think about the concept of, well, why would they be put into the higher chakra points? It's, well, they're the higher realms. That the heart is the bridge to the higher realms, and then they are the higher chakra points. So it would only make sense for the higher beings to connect with you at that point. And I always love the way that you say big purple hat. I always want to join a Zoom call just wearing the big purple hat. But I think it's definitely true. And from someone that, again, like I said, never seen myself as a healer. I've never called myself a medium. I've never seen myself in those sort of ways. But I've found when I've worked on clients, when I've been hairdressing or when I've been doing healings, I do see, it's almost like a quick visual in my mind, almost like a scene from a movie. And I remember you saying it to me once before, and I thought, oh, I'll control it. But you said sometimes it'll just come out, and you'll just say it, and you'll be like, why did I just say that? And that has happened to me before, because you just get this overriding urge to just go, oh, yes, like this has come to me, and I feel I need to share this knowledge with you. And I think it's a really, really interesting thing to do. But as well, if you're not just looking to become a practitioner of this, and you are, again, just advancing your own spiritual journey, I think this course would be really beneficial, because it's introducing you to the ideas of attunements and seeing how you find it on a smaller scale. But it also gives you a really great platform to then start to follow your own guides, to trust your own intuition, and you feel a lot more supported while doing so. And again, with the WhatsApp group as well, you've got those people holding you accountable, and you're part of that group that you're all supporting each other moving forward, and you don't feel so alone with it, which I know a lot of people in the spiritual community can feel, that they are quite alone when it comes to it. Have we got a cat joining us?
I just had a low battery warning, so I froze a little bit there. But I was hearing you mostly. I don't know if my picture went. No, I agree with you. I think that it's been phenomenal. I'm thrilled, and the WhatsApp group, as you say, is very supportive, and it is an accountable team behind you as well. But also quickly to say that, of course, the attunements are distant, which does take, as you pointed out earlier, Benji, when your sort of conscious, logical mind kicks in, you think, well, how can that make any difference? You know, it's not even in the same country in some cases, but, you know, within our situation, I'm in the same country, but quite the other side of it. And I know I would have struggled with that 20 years ago, but the reality is that it does work. I mean, I will be setting up a chair, and I will be visualizing the individuals in the chair and working on them as if they were there. And all I can say is that we do ask for feedback afterwards. And of course, I don't know whether people feel that they need to say they felt things when they didn't. I hope they don't, because I try and say, if you felt nothing, it's okay to say that. Because actually, I felt absolutely nothing. I've told you, haven't I? I felt absolutely nothing with my first Reiki
exactly.
years ago. So I know it doesn't necessarily mean that you won't go on and develop spiritually if you want to. But in reality, it's been astounding just what people have felt, hasn't it?
Yeah. Absolutely. I know that we've had lots of really, really good feedback from it and what people have found. And just to connect with what actually started us talking about this, Mohammed, thank you for your reply. So yeah, he understands it, and he has received attunements before, so he's got kind of that general idea of how they all work and everything, which is amazing. But yeah, like you say, I think it's really interesting. You could receive one attunement and feel nothing whatsoever, and the questions arise, is that because it's on such a subconscious level that you don't even notice the difference, or just does that attunement maybe not feel right for you? I mean, without getting too esoteric, could it already be there from a previous life or something
Yes.
like that? That it's always a possibility, but I think that's really, really interesting. But I'm just trying to think if I feel like we've kind of gone over everything now.
Yeah, I think you've been very thorough. I'm impressed.
Thank you. Well, before we log off, because I realised that my phone's starting to run low on battery, is there any final questions kind of before we log off from this? I just want to thank everyone who has watched it, and we will also try and get a recording of this to place onto my profile, and hopefully I'll be able to send Joanna a copy too, so we'll be able to get that published. But yeah, has anyone got any more questions or anything? I feel like that's a no. I feel like we answered everything. I feel like I can't see a time, but I feel like we've really gone into detail about it.
Yeah. I reckon. It's 1852, so we're. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Because I looked at it about 45 minutes in, and I thought, goodness. But I mean, it's sort of had its organic life of its own. So I guess the people that want to know will stick it out.
Definitely. Well, I just want to say, honestly, thank you to everyone who has participated and has been watching us. And thank you, Joanna. I just want to say thank you for your amazing work. Thank you for everything that you do. And I really can't wait to start this next project with you.
Well, thanks. I mean, if all my students were like, well, I mean, and a lot of them are really amazing. So, but I was going to say, if they're all like you, I'd be very happy. But the reality is, like, we have got a lovely bunch of coconuts. You want to say?
A cohort, a very good cohort.
Yes, yeah. I like coconuts. That's okay. Yeah. So, but I mean, I know you didn't even have healing in mind. So in a way that is really lovely, and the reality is you probably have done it in other lifetimes. I think that's quite possible. And I always do say it's quite possible in another life you were my teacher. You know, I think it's really important that we realize there is no hierarchy in this business. And even though I've been doing it for 22 years, I sit here realizing that some people might surpass me in 6 months. You know, it is possible, because if you touch the fuse paper of something that's really important to people and it lights their heart up, you know, then time is no essence, is it? It's about practice, and it's about remembering. So it's been a pleasure to be part of Benji's learning journey, and those of others. So if anybody listening here is going to join us, then I look forward to meeting you.
Yeah, definitely. Me too.
Listening anyway.
Yes, thank you everyone for your time. Well, Joanna, I hope you have a lovely evening, and I'm sending lots of love, and I will see you in 2 days.
Yeah, thank you. Take care.
Later. Bye.
Bye.